that little ease, when you get a break, comes difficulty again. So I bring before you a brother who is a young student in the ministry, a helper and aider here at Mount 32. And his name is Hannibal, and we say that's appropriate because although he is young, you don't expect young people to be rebellious, but he is one who has decided that he wants to put his life in order under the Mosque and the Messiah, and the Messiah's helper, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. So I bring to the roster our brother and helper here, Brother Hannibal Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you please give me one moment to get set up real quick? There we go. How you all doing today? All praises be to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Mastified Muhammad, the great Mahdi. I bear witness that we are a people who were so lost that God had to come himself. And he traveled 9,000 miles to do it. There's so much in that 9,000. We'll do that another time. No. Ooh. I bear witness that he will show his true greatness by taking one who would not be considered a scholar to many, who would not have a degree through the universities. He will raise him up, which you almost would consider as a dumb man, a stumbling man. But he will raise him up to show the world the power that he has, and he will make him exalted in Christ. And I'm speaking of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And just as Moses would ask for Aaron, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will ask for help as well. And he asked for this help in 1954, and as a Savior's Day gift in 1955, Allah will give him the help he asked for. And the man I'm speaking of is a warner in our midst who has sacrificed 62 years of himself for us and did 40 of it without his spiritual father right here present with him. I am speaking of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I greet you all in their three righteous and holy names of Assalamu alaikum. I first and foremost want to thank our student minister, Brother Charles Muhammad, for blessing me with this opportunity today. I received the phone call. He was thanking me on something. He was thanking me for assisting him with something, and then he sprung it on me. Oh yeah, by the way, brother, you got the keynote on Sunday. I was like, oh, really? All praises be to Allah. I was not expecting that one. But I'm truly, truly humbled, because anytime you're blessed with an opportunity to give God's words to the hearts and the minds of his people, I don't take that lightly. And speaking on God, I want to thank God, who is the originator. I want to thank the originator for setting into motion the universe with the thought behind it to gain into perfection. He wanted to perfect himself. People, you will argue that God is already perfect, and of course he is. Whatever stage of development he is in, that is perfection. He is present now to bring us perfection and to perfect you and I. There will be soldiers to create a perfect kingdom of perfect peace with unlimited progress. I'm going to say that again. There will be soldiers to create a perfect kingdom of perfect peace with unlimited progress. We thank him for seeing something in us, don't we?
Yes, sir.
There is no way we could have seen what he sees in us, our own selves. His sight and his love was so perfect that he chose us. He chose us to make us the heirs of the kingdom and to make us the heirs of himself.
That's right.
He wants to make us into a nation of gods. Think about that. A nation of gods. Brothers and sisters, we are on a continued journey. And this journey that we are on is a journey of continued demand. What will you and I give? What will you and I give? Sometimes it may be overwhelming or overcome by duty to the point that we say, I can't do that. I don't have time. I don't have enough money in my pockets to give. But I tell you, brothers and sisters, that is not what God is asking for. He is asking and demanding of us a perfection of ourselves. The perfection of ourselves is the perfection of God himself. Hidden deep, deep, deep in our DNA. There ain't enough deepness, is it? Let's add a couple more deepness to that. Hidden deep, 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 deep in our DNA is the original man. And if we go to where the original man is, we find that the original God himself is there.
Yes, sir. Come on.
And that original God is the perfection of us, which we've been seeking. From the day we came out the womb of our mothers, Allah has put us on a path to perfect us. That's why when you think in Genesis 1:27, it says, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Then in Ephesians 4:24, it says, and put on the new self. Why would we need a new self unless there's something wrong with the old self? Which in the likeness of God has been created in the righteousness and holiness of the truth. Now this is part of our first variable of life. If we don't know our history, we don't know where we're going. So the question becomes, who are we and whose are we? The same book, the Holy Bible, which addresses it, but no one actually believes in it, and that's why we do not see the results of Godship within self. We are the original man, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, from our registered brothers and sisters, we had to go through a process.
Yes, that's right.
And one of the processes was called student enrollment.
Right.
And the first question we had to learn to be able to even get on the other side was, who is the original man?
Right. Yes.
Well, who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man, right?
Yes, sir.
The maker, the owner, cream, which rises of the planet Earth. Why would we have to rise unless we're at the bottom? God of the universe. So we are of his image and likeness. We are of God who runs the universe. We just have yet to tap into our own God universal powers. Let's think about that for a second. In the final call, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had an article. It's a subtitle to the article states, Satan, the devil, the natural enemy of the original man and God. May I read from it? You know y'all didn't really have an option, right? When God creates a creature, he gives it a nature that justifies its existence. When it behaves as the Creator created it to be, you don't justify your existence by other than who you are. You justify being here by learning and being yourself. Every creature that God created, he gives it an aim and a purpose. That is not written in a book. It is written in the nature of that creature. So it is written in the nature of the black man and woman to be God. So if we're not acting like God or fulfilling our potential of God, that means we are doing other than self. That is why we must master self and the desires of self. There's something that we're facing that's preventing us from getting to that level. When you and I look in the mirror, there are two things we're looking at. We are looking at God, and we're looking at an internal devil. I'm going to say that again. When you and I look in the mirror, there are two things we're looking at. We're looking at God, and we're looking at an internal devil. I did say internal devil. When we look in the mirror, it is for us to apply what you read in John 4:7. Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Yes. So when we look in the mirror, we see two individuals. And depending on how we take on our day will determine who has power of the day of ours. So we take and apply John 4:7. I'm going to read again. If we submit ourselves then to God, so when we're looking in the mirror, I submit myself to you, Allah, and I will resist the devil that's trying to take over me today. When you have that power, that will, that determination that day, you will see and feel the presence of your own internal enemy flee your body. Oh, praises be to Allah. The challenge is when we look in the mirror, we're not recognizing there's two parts trying to take over for the day. So we have been overcome or overcame by the devil within ourselves. That's why we're slouched over when we're walking. That's why we've become stagnant in our lives. That's why we find ourselves stuck. As we watch everything around us move on, we find ourselves stuck in the same place. We find ourselves unproductive, lazy, tired, and even bitter. We cannot master our external environment if we have yet to master our internal environment. Once we master internal, external becomes easy to handle. That's why we're so beat up by the world, because we have become weakened by the world's power over our own selves. Last week, I mentioned something to us. The decisions we make today will impact our lives 10 years from now. The decisions we make today will impact our lives 10 years from now. Many of us are still recovering from the decisions we made 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Why do you think our marriages are not happy? Because there were decisions we made years ago that we're still reaping from. And we don't understand what's taking place, so we go into relationships with the same baggage. We want a house, but we have bad credit. Why do we have bad credit? Because we made a bad decision in the past and never corrected it. I want to start a business, but I have a felony. Well, most states won't allow you to start a business with a felony. So now I have to put a business in somebody else's name and have faith that they're going to operate the way I want them to.
Yes, sir. Come on.
We want to travel the world. We want to at least get out of Arizona. We want to travel the world, but we can't get a passport because we're behind on our child support.
Look out now.
Yes, sir. That's real. That's real.
These are realities.
That's right.
And the interesting thing, I'm never going to take away the child and put any blame on the child. But we were being foolish in our decisions, and we're not prepared for the relationship who we were engaged with. And then we're in our frustration, our disagreement. I ain't paying no child support. She's spending the money. Well, now, yo, brother, we need you to fly with us with the minister. We're going to Jamaica. I ain't got no passport. We are being impacted by the decisions we are making. And we're not making the best of decisions. So the variables of our lives are impacting the future decisions we want to make. Believe it or not, I don't have the best credit. I got better credit now. But when I got married, my wife wanted a house. I looked at my credit. I recognized the bad decisions I made in college. I was like, woo. So I said, Queen, give me 2 years. Allah's my witness. We will be moving into a home. She gave me my 2 years. I focused on my credit. And I saved some money. Allah willing, we purchased our first home years ago. But that took me looking in that mirror of seeing I was not making the best decisions. We want to start this job, but we can't get a driver's license because we have bad driving records. So we miss out on employment. Those decisions and incomplete work are called unfinished chapters of our lives. Unfinished chapters in our lives. We're reading a book, but we don't finish the chapter and we jump to the next chapter and we get confused in the next chapter. Well, I don't understand. What's this formula? What's going on here? Well, we stopped in page 3 and you jumped to page 45. That's a lot missed in that process. Those are the things we desire to do, but when challenges come, we jump ship. So we're quick to start something, but as soon as a little bump comes our way, a little brush, we're quick to jump ship. As we're making moves, Allah was placing things in the atmosphere for purification and to have things ready for us when we got to the certain checkpoints. But as Allah started purifying us, we didn't like the purification process. Right. That gets kind of hard and rough. Right. So as Allah's purifying us, He's also putting something in the future for us to walk right into. Right. Have you ever been struggling on something? You're like, oh, Allah, when I'm going to pay this bill. The next thing you know, right before it's due, somebody comes to you and says, Allah told me to give this to you. Or somebody calls you and says, I owed you some money. You came to my mind. But that was us continuing through the purification process. But what happens, we get a little purification our way, a little trouble our way, we jump ship. Then that becomes an additional unfinished chapter. In the Holy Quran, one of my favorite surahs, Surah Thunder, which is Surah 13, verse 11, it says, for him are angels guarding the consequences of his deeds. Before him and behind him who guard him by Allah's command. This is my favorite part of this verse. Surely Allah changes not the condition of a people until they change their own condition. I'm going to add something to it. Please don't get upset with me, but I'm going to add something to it. Surely Allah changes not the condition of a people until we change our attitude. Until we change our will. Until we change our determination. Until we change our desire. Until we're willing to go forward with what Allah put on our hearts. Because we'll say, I want to change something, but we don't get up out of the bed and start working on it. Why would He change what we desire not to have change in our hearts? We have unfinished chapters in our lives. And the thing is, we must clear these chapters in order for us to move forward. As the minister introduced to us some years ago, Dianetics, we found we had engrams deeply rooted within ourselves. And we were making mistakes, causing problems, having issues, getting angry, having frustrations. And then as we start going through our process of Dianetics, there was things that were coming up and revealing themselves. You started finding out situations that you didn't recognize as a child, you witnessed with your parents. And that was what caused the same type of attitude as an adult. But as we start reducing and clearing those engrams, we start freeing ourselves of the stress. Then we start seeing ourselves able to move more freely because we don't have that pressure, that stress hanging on our bodies. To my Muslim family, you might be upset after I ask this question, but I have to ask it. Do you remember when you first accepted Islam? Yes, sir. Do you really, really remember when you first accepted Islam? Yes, sir. When your energy was high. When we had drive, desire, dedication, work ethic, aspiration, and determination. Do you remember them days? Yes, sir. What happened? Yes, sir. Good question. Now, I don't want you to answer out loud, but I want you to think about it. What happened? We've allowed situations in our lives to determine and deter us off of the path that we seek to have. To our guests and visitors, the same energy when you want to start a new business, when you want to go to school, start a career, when you want to start a family, relationships, build a community, etc. Then next you know, we gave it up. What happened? Those are things we have to think about on a daily basis. I would love to have the same spirit I had when I accepted Islam. Imagine if we all had that same spirit right now. You will see Muhammad's running all over Phoenix. People, I saw Muhammad here, I saw Muhammad there. But something has happened, and we've allowed internal and external forces keep us from what Allah has promised us. So who do we blame? Nobody but ourselves. It's okay that we acknowledge it. I'm going to be honest with you. We've been defeated. We've been defeated. Look in the mirror. It's okay though. We've been defeated. Think about those desires we must have. Think about where we are now as individuals and as a people. Doesn't that hurt? It's a reality check. I'm not here, as I always say, I'm never here to beat us up. But I have to remind us where we are and where Allah wants us to go. That has to do with the decisions we have made. The unfinished chapters we have started. They are weighing heavy on us, and sometimes we do not even recognize them. It's like walking into a wall or finding a ceiling cap in our lives that we don't know how to get beyond. It must be clear. Have you noticed every time we want to do something or we get inspired, it's only a few moments later we start to think about all of the challenges of doing what we was inspired to do. We think it's too hard now. We think it's impossible. Well, let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. That's not you. That's not me. That's not us. That's that internal devil that we're facing every day. That's that internal enemy we're facing every day. We have given this little enemy too much power. See that place that we're at right now? Where that inner demon wants us to be at? That he places the reminders in us every time we get inspired to do something. That's why we're stagnant and we have lack of progress. The minister posed a question to us. He said, what will you give to see the day where there is no devil on the planet, where there is peace all over? So until we purify and get that devil, that demon without us, he's going to remain on our planet. I want to try something. Everyone take a deep breath. I can't hear y'all. Let's do it together. Everyone inhale. Hold it. Exhale. Let's do it again. However, when we inhale, let's inhale the power of Allah. And then when we exhale, let's exhale that demon out of us. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Exhale. You feel a little better? Let's do it one more time then. 1, 2, 3. It takes time because you're fighting someone we've given all our power to. So it's not going to be easy to get him out right now. He like, are you fronting? That meeting be over in like an hour. We'll see how you feel at 12:30. We'll see how you feel when we driving past McDonald's. We'll see how you feel when you say you're going to eat at 4 o'clock. We'll see how you feel when you take that bow tie off in the car. It's not going to be as easy as that, but it takes time, practice, and dedication. Now, I have something I want to do, but my brother hasn't made it here yet, so I'm going to ask if Brother Charles can come over to that laptop, because I need to bring something up on the projector. I want to read a prayer, and I want you to read this prayer out loud with me. It's under the images. Once you bring it up, you just double click it and then drag it over to your right, and you'll see it start coming up to the screen. Excuse me, family. I apologize for not being fully prepared for you all today. Not that one. That's close though. We're going to go to that one too sometime towards the end, if Allah willing. It's the refuge prayer. You all right? Y'all feelings not hurt, right? All right. Nobody beat me up after the mosque meeting, all right? I'm going to disappear and uncover hitting car. Y'all ain't going to see me. Can you all see this? Are you sure you can see it? All right, I want to try something. We're going to read the refuge prayer. I want to try something. I want everyone to take their hand and put it on your heart. Now, we're not doing the national anthem. So y'all all right. You ain't got to take a stand. I just want you to put your hand on your heart. Because I want you to feel the sincerity of your heartbeat as we read this prayer. All right? Now, if you're not comfortable saying Allah, that's perfectly fine. You can say God in the replacement of Allah for your being, okay? So this is what it says. And you can read in silence or you can read out loud with me. But I want you to sincere yourself when you actually read it. And it goes like this. Oh Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. And I seek thy refuge from the lack of strength and laziness. And I seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. And I seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Oh Allah, suffice thou me with what is lawful, to keep me away from what is prohibited, and with thy grace, make me free of make me free of wants and of what is beside thee. Take your hand from your heart. Now put it back on your heart. How's your heart beat? Did it seem calmer? Does it seem calmer? I know he was probably being fast. He was nervous, like, what's the brother about to make me do? But that's a prayer that when we're looking in that mirror, fighting, determining who has power for that day, that if we say just this prayer alone, look at how Allah will take us into the day. So all of the trials and tribulations that we're facing will be moved aside. And we'll be given a great straight path. And all of our shortcomings that are sitting on our shoulders, Allah will make them easy to carry. All we have to do is seek refuge in the originator of the heavens and earth. All praises be to Allah. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said on Twitter, regardless of the depth of darkness of a situation, light is always present in darkness. But when you are hopeless and filled with despair over your circumstances, you cannot find the light. When we're having a bad day, go to that mirror, look at yourself in the eyes, read that prayer. And watch how Allah will give you light in this dark hour. Oh Allah. He also says, if you will come back to God and develop again a true faith in God, you would know that there is nothing that you desire of good that you cannot achieve.
That's right.
We are facing variables in our lives right now. And every day we must fight that internal enemy. And see, if we're fighting that internal enemy, there are 3 fears we must face to do it. The fear of failure, the fear of the unknown, and the fear of success. Our inner weaknesses control us by these 3 fears. The fear of failure. What if my goals and dreams don't work out? So we're afraid to even go forward because we're afraid that we're going to fail. What are people going to say about me if I don't do good? Well, Jay-Z said one of the best lines in the 444 album, a loss is not a loss, but a loss is a lesson. Y'all ain't get that. Y'all ain't get that. A loss is not a loss, but a loss is a lesson. When you played in a sport, if you played for a team, you took that L, that hurt. But when you went back to practice, you worked harder to get that W. That's right. In life, we're going to take losses. We're going to go down to the bottom. Yes. But once we hit that rock, we don't dwell in the bottom. We fight our way back up. Allahu Akbar. The second, the fear of the unknown. We often may fear the unknown, but it's a poor success strategy. Let's try that again. It's a poor success strategy. To help face uncertainties. It's good to be prepared in the right place mentally and physically. We go out, I'm stepping out on faith. I'm going to quit my job, I'm stepping out on faith. Okay, all praise be to Allah, but what's your success strategy? And then what happens, we fail, and then we pick up two fears in the process. The fear of the unknown, now we have the fear because we failed. And now we got two of the three holding us down. Everything we do as we develop and grow has an uncertainty factor to it. As a child coming out the womb of your mother, you see people talking and you don't know how to talk yet. That's an uncertainty. But you start studying how are they moving their mouths? How are these sounds coming out? And then next thing you know, you say, Dad, Dad. Right. I know all the women hate that part. Because those are the first words you hear. Then you don't know how to walk or crawl, but you see movement happening from older individuals and you study how they're doing it. So you see a child trying to take steps with them weak legs. Them legs are weak, but the more movement and fighting and pushing forward, the legs strengthen up. The next thing you know, that child is walking. And then as a parent, that's the biggest joy on your face. Oh my God, my baby is walking. You start recording and sending pictures. We go through the same principles as adults. But when we can't walk, we give up. When we can't talk, we give up. When we don't want to fight, we give up. Who are we fighting for? I asked the question earlier, who are we and whose are we? If we're Almighty God Allah, He's going to send us trials. You think it was easy to produce Himself out of triple darkness? You think it was easy to sit in the womb of your mother and have to wait for the day to put her on life? She's at the door of death for you to have life. And she survives so that we can move on. Oh, brothers and sisters, our life has nothing but uncertainties in it. If we buckle every time an uncertain situation comes to us, we might as well stay in our room and find somebody to pay the bills, because at an uncertain time, they're going to cut off the electricity. Allahu Akbar. Then we have what's called the fear of success. Really? People fear success? That sounds weird, right? But believe it or not, many of us fear success. See, success, we find that most people are more influenced than they realize by what others think. The idea that someone might criticize or reject them stops many people in their tracks.
That's right, yes.
Oh man, I got this great idea. Oh brother, that ain't gonna work. Yeah. Sisters, I think we should come together. Oh, that ain't gonna work. We allow someone else's fear to overtake our desire. Right. That shows a weakness in self. Right. We're afraid of being on top of the world. Allah wants us to be on top of the world. He wants to give us his kingdom. Yes, but we're afraid to have his kingdom because we're afraid of what people might think of us. Right. We're afraid to be confident in public because we're afraid people might think we're arrogant. Yes. We're afraid to speak our voices because we're afraid they might think we're argumentative. But brothers and sisters, Allah gave that to us. Right. And the thing about that, steel sharpens steel. Right. So that person who might be fearful might see hope because they see you and I do it. Right. They might be afraid to do something, but then they saw you and I do it. Oh, brothers and sisters, let me give this little example. One of my brothers was talking to me the other day. And he was like, Brother Hannibal. Well, you know, that's conversation, Brother Hannibal. And he was like, you remember when you sent me that picture of an animation you were doing of the minister when you was practicing? I said, yes, sir. He said, brother, I was a little upset. Well, brother, why were you upset? Because that's something I've been wanting to do for the last 2 years and I didn't know how to. Then I saw you just send it to me like, y'all, I'm practicing. And it was like, really? But then he said, now I want to come to you and figure out what are you doing because I have ideas on how I want to fulfill it. You and I never know who is watching us. We don't know. And the decisions we make don't just impact us individually, it impacts the collective. So when we make a positive move, we give a young child hope. When we make a positive move, we give our elders hope. Yes, but when we say, I'm done, I give up, we prove the wrong point. The fear of success. In order to do that, we must stop. Now check this one out. We must stop overwhelming ourselves with big goals. May I get some water? You all mind real quick? My throat getting a little dry. You ever seen Martin, You So Crazy? I'm just saying, get some water. Thank you. We're overwhelmed by big goals. It seems unrealistic. And sometimes it can be. I want to tackle the world. All right, brother, that's cool. How you going to do it? What we must do is decide on what that big goal is and create small checkpoint goals to achieve it. If we set a big goal, we don't have an action plan in place, it's just a dream. So many of us are dreamers. Well, many of us are dreamers. And that's where we have to challenge each other by doing it. We have to challenge each other by doing it. What do I mean by that? We have an enemy we have given so much power to that makes us feel weaker than our own selves really should be. So if we try to challenge that enemy, he's going to make us feel weaker, right? If we challenge him piece by piece with small goals, we will find how weak the enemy really is. Right. We don't have to attack with big goals, we attack with little goals. So if a purification process for self is I want to get to 1 meal a day, or I want to get to 1 meal every other day, I don't just say I'm fasting tomorrow. Now because if I fail at it, I'm upset with self. But if I'm eating 5 meals a day, I cut it to 4. Then I say, you know what? 3 days later, I want to cut it to 3. Then I cut it to 2. Then I cut it to 1. Next thing you know, you see a week later, 2 weeks later, you're down to 1 meal. It became easier, and the greatest part about it, it builds confidence. Many of us are unconfident people. We all have insecurities, and the challenge is we're beat up so much that it's hard for us to face our insecurities. So we take them piece by piece. May I give a couple examples of that? I found myself being a dreamer. I found myself saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then months later, I realized I didn't do nothing. So towards the end of last year, I said, I'm going to challenge myself to complete something. And I was trying to figure out what it was going to be. And if you all remember, I was raising my Savior's Day gift last year, and I was utilizing a photo magazine. That was my first challenge. I said, I'm going to start this process of gathering the pictures. I'm going to start this process of trying to find the content. I'm going to start this process of laying it out. And I had to start with one picture, then 2 pictures. And then as it started to build, I was like, oh man, this is starting to look good. Now, once you acknowledge how good it looks, what does that bring to you? Confidence. So that insecurity I had of completing it started slowly going away. The next thing I know, I look up, we're towards the end of December, I got a photo magazine of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
Now that's exciting to me because I wanted to complete something. Right. And from that photo magazine, it went from just a present to give to the minister to I was able to raise my Savior's Day gift of $1,300 by giving away free magazines. Allahu Akbar. I wanted to travel abroad. I've traveled all through the United States. So the abroad part was the harder part. For most people who've never traveled before, never flown before, the first part is getting on the plane. Then once we landed safely, like, oh, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And then once we go to a further state where you're on a plane longer than 45 minutes going to LA, we decided to go to Chicago. Oh, this actually ain't that bad. Then the minister goes to Atlanta. Oh, that's a little bit further. We start building momentum. Well, I felt I was at a ceiling cap on my flying. I want to learn more. I wanted to get a broader horizon, so I decided, let's go to Dubai. Now our goal, my wife and our goal is to travel at least international at least one time a year. That's me challenging myself to go further than the norm of Brother Hannibal. I did the same thing with school. I found out I had an unfinished chapter. College. Started college, was doing good, ran into some circumstances, and then I dropped out. Then I started recognizing this year I have a whole bunch of unfinished things. I need to go close these chapters off. So I decided to go back to school. Me personally, I'm upset with my grades. I ended with 2 B's and an A. For me, that's unacceptable because I knew I could got straight A's. But I also know I had circumstances and setbacks in the process, like my grandmother. But I pushed to try to get an A out of every class. That was my challenge. My goal is to get to a master's degree in engineering, but I can't get that first if I don't finish the first checkpoint, which is a bachelor's. So I'm taking it step by step. Let me give you another one. My wife would laugh and say, you don't study enough. I'm like, Quinn, I'm always studying. Then I found out that I wasn't reading enough. I might read, but I wasn't completing my books. So what I decided to do was grab a little small book like The Flag of Islam, the meaning of FOI, the Constitution. Let me do one of these little 10, 12, 15, 20 page books. Let me grab my little daughter's book. Let me try a little children's book. It's funny, but the goal was completion. That's the to go at the end of the day. Completion. Oh, praises be to Allah. So once I finished it, I was like, all right, cool. You building up momentum. Then you go from that to like a 40-page book. Then you find yourself in, is it possible, 100 and something page book. Then you're at 300 pages, 500. Next thing you know, you're coming up on Ramadan. And many of us struggle to finish our Holy Quran reading. But I had to build up the momentum and get the discipline, as Brother Khalil mentioned, to prepare myself for it. All praises be to Allah.
Build that reading muscle.
Yes, build that reading muscle. But see, these are small achievements. See, the enemy's like, oh man, bro, you don't have to do all that reading. That enemy, oh man, you ain't got time for that. You busy. The excuses was kicking in. So I had to be strategic in that approach. Let me start with something small just to catch myself off guard. Let me keep a book in the car so I just grab it. Let me put one in my backpack so I get bored. I'm going through my backpack. I just pull something out. It challenged me to do better. And those smaller achievements allow me to start beating back up on that internal devil that lives in me, that I'm trying to conquer. So I have some questions for you, brothers and sisters. You know I got to ask some questions. Question number 1. What drives you? You ain't got to say it out loud. This is internal. Number 2. What motivates you? And let's try number 3. What inspires you? We have to think about what motivates us and what inspires us, right? And what drives us. But I want to flip those questions now. And I want you to really think hard on these answers. What are you driving? And I'm not talking about a car. All right? What are you driving? What are you willing to put the energy in the drive to success? What are you motivating? I mentioned there's people who are watching every move that you make who may not say nothing to you. But who are you motivating? And what are you inspiring? Until we can answer these simple questions, we will remain stuck and stagnant. My brother in the black jacket, I got a question for you. What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? Pray.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. What about you, my brother? Same thing? All praises be to Allah. That wasn't the answer I was looking for, but we'll take it. My dear sister in the black with the smile on your face, what do you do? What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? Yes. Read your scriptures. Well, I got some studious people in the building today. I wasn't expecting that. But that's good. That's good. Because everyone doesn't do that. That's not everyone's routine. Everyone doesn't wake up and start reading in the morning or go through their scriptures or drink a glass of water to get their organs moving. Everyone doesn't have the same setup. What I was hoping someone was going to say, wake up and look at their Facebook or their Twitter or their Instagram before they go make prayer. Before they go get some water. Right after the alarm go off, who hit me up? I'm just saying, that's some people's routines though. So, but waking up to social media or coming home and having a Netflix and chill type of night is not going to produce the results we're trying to do in life. That's what I was trying to get to. Now, I'm not saying you can't check your social medias. I'm not saying not to have a Netflix and chill type of night. There's no wrong with that. I'm just saying it can become a distraction if we say we have desired goals. Most successful people do not find themselves on social media all day unless it's part of your work to be on social media because you're driving something. You're inspiring something. You're motivating something. Many of us go onto social media and we get caught up in a daze. It becomes an illusion. So we wake up, I have this idea, but hold on, so I got 15 notifications, let me check them out. And you go from your notifications to reading, to watching videos, to going down your timeline, to sister said what, to brother said who, oh my God, look at this righteousness, look at World Star, to next you know 3 hours went down the drain. So that desire we had to fulfill and change the variables of our unfinished chapters in life is still the same thing. So the question becomes, what are we doing more of? Trying to build ourselves up or concerned on what everyone else is saying and doing? If I ask you a question about your life or aspirations and your response is mediocre, but if I can ask you a question about love and hip hop, basketball wives, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Insecure, if I can ask you the stats on the Golden State Warriors game or the Cleveland Cavaliers game, there's a problem here. Brother, how are you doing? Man, I'm all right. What's your goals in life? Man, did you catch the game last night? Oh, bro, did you see Steph Curry hit him for that 3? It shows. It shows in our energy. So we're putting our energy in the wrong places, and then we get upset when we don't have the results. See, I'm not saying not to watch this stuff. I'm not saying not to go on social media. Because you can watch whatever you desire and do whatever you choose to do. But I want you to know this. There's only 24 hours in a day. And 8 to 14 of those hours, we deal with work. That's including drive time and preparing to get to work. So we already lost more than half of the day giving it to someone else. So by the time we get home, all we want to do is rest and have leisure time. When do we actually finish the chapters? I'm just saying, brothers and sisters, we're not going to close this 10, this 20, this 30 plus year gap we've made through our life if we're not trying to look in the mirror to face it. I was in banking for nearly 10 years. And when I would talk to someone about a credit card, a loan, anything with credit, that was like a curse word. Whoa, no, I'm good. Don't talk to me about that. Whoa, bro, good. Man, you all right? You straight? Don't swing on me. What you started finding out in that process, many people were afraid of their credit. So when I say, all right, cool. When was the last time you looked at your credit score? Oh, I don't know. Then you don't know if you can buy a house. Then you don't know if you qualify for this. Thing is, we've made decisions and we're afraid to look at it because if we look at it, it brings it back to reality. Right. And once it comes back to reality, we have to now face it. Right. So either you're going to act like when you see somebody at the corner and you got the final call in your hand and they windows up and you trying to say, final call my brother, and they start doing this. And you go to the other side, you like, final call my brother, they start doing this. And they trying to act like they don't see you. See, my brothers know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Sister, I'm telling you.
Yes, sir.
Or you see that elbow hit the little knob. No, let me stop. Trying to lock the door, they're afraid of you. But if we don't face the reality, it's hard to face the reality. But as we work through the challenges of it, it becomes easier to face. And then next thing you know, that's a completed chapter. And then the strength and the confidence comes up. But if we don't, we're going to continue to commit what we call insanity.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I did say we can be insane. Many of us are insane. Be honest with you. We're working and working, trying to figure out what's going wrong, but we continue to make the same mistakes. But we're expecting over and over and over to have different results.
Yes, sir.
That's insanity.
Yes, sir.
Because we won't step back and say, hold up, every time I make this left here, it takes me to a dead end. Maybe I should go right next time. Maybe I should go straight next time. Well, actually, why is there a dead end here in the first place? Now I'm in a daze focused on the dead end and forgot what my purpose was. I had an appointment I had to get to. Different results. In this beautiful book called Closing the Gap. Yeah. Love this book. Interviews of the heart, mind, and soul of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's an interview written by Brother Jabril and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. On page 409, I'm not going to read the question from Brother Jabril, but I'm going to read the answer from the minister. He says this: whenever a scientist desires to produce something, we're still dealing with insanity, okay? Whenever a scientist desires to produce something, he has to look for the right material. There is no creative act that does not involve some form of material. Sometimes you try one piece of metal and it doesn't work. All right, I lost my track. Excuse me, my bad. You try again. But you're always looking for the right material to produce the right results. That is not the right results. That's not in the mind of the material. It is the mind of the creator or the person that has an idea in mind for the material. The material does not matter until the idea of the carrier of the idea wants to use the material for a purpose. Mind over matter. In that same process as we set in our mind, this is what I desire to do. This is what I'm going to do. The next thing we must create is what's called work ethics. We have to build up our work ethics. It's one thing to have this great, beautiful vision board that many of us will start making towards the end of the year. This is what I want to achieve for 2018. We go find magazines, we start cutting stuff up, we put planes on it. But it means nothing if we don't have a plan of action to fulfill what's on the board. It means nothing if we do not plan out how I want to fulfill it. See, we're all students in the classroom of life, so we have to figure out, how am I going to stay studious to fulfill what the teacher has in front of me? Because he gives us the free will to function how we see fit. In the Supreme Wisdom, the original rules of instructions to the laborers, point number 2, there's this part I just wanted to read. And it just says something simple like this: the student could practice his or her labor while under study if they were sincere. So it's no magic trick. It's nothing major to it. It's just being sincere, studying what works, studying the mistakes we have made in our lives, and then working on them. If you ever had a bad relationship or you were not in communication with your children, the first conversation is hard. It's challenging. You don't know the uncertainty of what's coming from it. But the more and more you two open up and get to work through the problems, you will see it becomes easier. Then you will see that person who said they hate you, they don't want you in their life, will start welcoming you into their lives. It's a challenge. But depending on how we take on the challenge will determine the success or failure of the results. Oh, brothers and sisters. So I want to introduce something to you. Oh, there's something else I need to say first. There's a position awaiting us. But we must organize and qualify ourselves to fulfill the position. So I want to introduce us to more or less a time management organizational method. It's called SMART. Hilaria, can you bring that up on the screen for me? SMART. Thank you, sir. The S represents specific or specify. The M represents measurable. The A represents attainable or achievable. And the R represents realistic or relevant. And the T represents timely. Now, if you're doing a mathematical equation, sometimes you have to put it certain ways. I like to work the S and T together first. So when you read it, it says, do you know exactly what you want to accomplish with all the details? Goals must be well defined. They must be clear. Simple. The M, can you quantify your progress so you can track it? How will you know when you reach your goals? This is what we fall apart at. We fall apart at the end. We specify, I want to do this. But how do we measure our results? This is where we fall apart at in many things we decide we want to do. The A, attainable. Is your goal a challenge but still possible to achieve? Goals must achievable. The best goals require you to stretch a bit to achieve them, but they are not impossible to achieve. Excuse me. R, realistic. Is your goal realistic and within reach? Are you willing to commit to your goal? And then timely. Does your goal have a deadline? Every goal has a deadline. Goals must have a clearly defined time frame, including a starting date and a target date. If you don't, you'll have a time limit. Then there is no urgency. There's the problem. There's no urgency to start taking action towards achieving your goals. I want to try something out. I don't know if I have enough time though, but I want to see if I can pull it off. Y'all want to interact with me a little bit? I want to try this live. Somebody raise their hand and give me a goal they want to achieve. Go ahead, brother.
Peace on earth.
Excellent. Now, as of right now, how realistic would that be right now? What's the time frame on it? Let's go a little bit smaller. I love it. Let's go a little bit smaller. Yes, ma'am. Perfect. Let's start with the bachelor's degree. Man, can somebody go get Brother Hilaire and put him back on that computer? I need to put him to work. Tell that brother he don't get no breaks. So let's start off with the S, right? What's the S? Specify, right? Yeah, I want to type it all in so we can finish it up on the board so we can see that it actually works. So what did we just specify? That she wants her bachelor's degree. Now I told you I like to mix it up a little, so I want to go to the T next before we measure it. How much time do you have? How much time do you want to commit to accomplishing that goal? Till next year. Okay. So are we talking about the fall of next year, the spring of next year? Spring of next year. Okay, so we talk about like this upcoming May? Perfect. So that means we're looking at about 5-6 months, correct? We'll go with 6 months on the aspect of it. So we specify a bachelor's degree. You got that finger pointing, sir? You all right? There's a Microsoft Word. I wanted him to type the information in, but it's cool. Everybody's with me, right? We'll figure it out. You know, facts a lot better, but we'll figure it out. Bachelor's degree, right? 6 months. Now, let's see if it's measurable. How far along are you in your credits, and how many credits do you need to graduate? You have like 170, you need like 190? No, I have 175. You have 175, you need 190? All right. Simple math. Let's take away the ones. What's 90 subtracted by 75? 15, right? I mean, I knew that. I just want to make sure somebody was going to say it with me. 15, right? All right. So she needs 15 credit hours to graduate this May. Now we're measuring it. Is that possible? Why is that possible? Because she has more than enough to at least go this year, right?
Yes.
Full time is usually 12 credit hours. Each class is usually 3 credit hours. So that means if she only took 4 classes, would she graduate this year?
Yes, she will.
You should.
Yes, she will. As fast as she's going, she's smart enough so she can. If she doesn't study overnight, like if she goes to a class at night, then she can.
Okay.
I'm also working and I'm also going to work too, so I have to
But that's part of the measurable. It's part of the measurable. So we're going to take that out of the equation just for the sake of this conversation. Is that cool? All right. So if each class is about 3 credit hours, she needs 15 credit hours to graduate. How many classes would she have to take for the spring semester? So she has to take 5. So we specified, we got the time frame, we saw that it's measurable. Is that achievable for you? She shook her head yes. Now the question becomes, is that realistic? Depends on her commitment to it, right? It also depends on if she passes all 5 of her classes this semester. These are things we have to look at when we're laying out our day-to-day life and our goals that we're trying to achieve. We even take the same method to go back to the same unfinished chapters of life. I made a mistake. What was the mistake? Doesn't matter how far back it was. I want to fix the mistake. How much time do I have to fix it? Can I measure? Is it possible? Is it attainable? And is it realistic with whoever or whatever I need to do to correct it? Does that make sense? I would have loved to actually broke it down so you can see it. I would have loved to break it down so you can see it, but we can move beyond that part. But that does make sense. So in our lives, we have to put things in place, methods in place that's going to make it easier for us to achieve our lively goals. So when the minister comes to us and he tells us, brother and sister, you can do it, it's not realistic. He's putting the inspiration in us to actually go find a way to achieve it. He says, brother and sister, I want you to accomplish this. He didn't put a time frame on it. That's on us to put the time frame on it and move forward with it. He specified for us what he wanted. We set up the time frame and we see if it's attainable, if it's realistic in that time frame, and can we measure our results to it. So halfway through the semester, if she's not doing good in her grades, will she still graduate? She may have to take a step back and say, okay, hold up, this ain't working. I may have to drop this class before it hits me, take these 4 finished, and then I'll just wrap it up over the summer. It doesn't mean she didn't finish the goal. Overall goal is to finish it. She just was off on her measurements for her method. That simple. I didn't leave nobody, right? Good, good. All praises be to Allah. Thank you, sir. Last but not least, we have to take action towards our goals. Goals won't magically happen just because we say we want them and just because we written them down. Even if we come up with fantastic, smart methods, we still must put them into effect. It's that simple. Did that one? Thank you. Did that one? Excuse me. I'm going back through my notes. I skipped something. Okay, that's where I want to go. Perfect. Excuse me, you all. I wasn't sure I was going to have somebody in that spot, so I was trying to prepare for it. All right. I have a question for you. Did you just learn something?
Yes, sir.
Was it hard to learn?
No, sir.
Was it boring?
No, sir.
Be honest with me. Was it boring? Was it fun? Somewhat? Yeah, maybe. If you understood, it was kind of like, oh, this is interesting. Was it easy to do? Okay. Reason why I asked, was it fun? Because learning is supposed to be fun. And if learning is not fun, you're not going to learn because you're bored of it before you get into it. And in closing the gap, Brother Jabril asked the minister a question about fun and the meaning of fun. And the minister went into how fun is learning something new. And he gave the example when you see children going on exploring and learning things about themselves and the world, they're having fun as children by themselves. They're having fun because they're learning new things about themselves and they're accomplishing stuff. We as adults can have fun if we find things that are fun that we're learning to do. The first time we stepped foot into the nation and we're going to study group, we had fun. Why? Because we're learning more about ourselves. Every single day we should have fun learning more about ourselves. We may have challenges in that process, but it should be fun because we learned something. And as we take what we learn, we duplicate it and we continue to move on with that progress. We must set the large goals that we want to achieve. We set what you could considerably think of as a large goal. She wants to graduate with her bachelor's. But we set in place smaller achievable goals to get there. We identify what she would need to do that. I need 5 classes. That doesn't seem heavy because she's further along. But if we went from the aspect of when she first started school, it will be the same method. How many classes would she need to graduate in 4 years? What do I need to start my business? How much time do I need to do it? What do I need to reconcile my relationship with my children? What do I need to amend the relationship I had with my ex? There's a process that goes into that, which is the 8 steps of atonement, but we have to put methods into that.
Right.
Brothers and sisters, let me go ahead and recap as I get ready to close out. One of the first variables of life that I spoke of is understanding who and whose you are. The second one I spoke of is identifying that devil within and mastering self. The third one is the everyday fight of mastering self and the environment we live in. We spoke is to use the small achievements to conquer the large goals. Brothers and sisters, Allah is with us. We really made it out if we think about it because we're alive today. And there's many of us that did not make it through 2017, but Allah got us to here. So I'm telling you this, never give up. Allahu Akbar. Never give up. No matter how hard it gets, no matter what challenges we run into in life, take a step back, revisit the method, the steps we're taking, but never give up. I pray to Allah that what has been mentioned today will increase our efforts and our progress individually and collectively. And I also pray to Allah that we go out stronger today than when we came into this building. And I want you always to remember that the minister said this. It is a gift from Allah that comes when we submit ourselves to do His will of Allah and not our will. When we're at peace with Allah, who is the sovereign Lord and Creator, then you can make peace with others. And my last quote is from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, work cheerfully and fear not. May Allah bless us with the light of understanding. I thank you again. Assalamu alaikum.